It's the first installment of the third temple. You can see there's seats, there's seats for all the 70 member council of the Sanhedrin. And the podium that they're signing a book on they're referring that as the judgment seat. So they were also saying behind them is where they're going to put dedicated altar. The one that they dedicated last year in November is going to be where that golden pomegranate is. That menorah right there was prepared for the new temple, so it's already in place. Basically where they're standing in is the Holy of Holies. Right now it's not being used for anything else except for their chambers. I was wondering what that book was, and nobody knew what that book was. Like, why is the guy that the gentleman in black with the black hat? He's top level Sanhedrin, one of the top people. You can read about it later. But I wanted to know what that book was. So I was talking to my friend, and I'm like, what? I want to know what that book was, because whatever Pompeo was signing wasn't a guest book, okay? There was some kind of officializing going on. So my friend asked another friend, I'm not going to give names, but she has insider information from a woman that lives in Israel who is an undercover. She lives there as an undercover Jew. She dresses as an Orthodox, but she has insider information. And she's part of, I guess, other people that do this. And so she said the book that they signed was actually a blessing from that Pompeo was signing with Netanyahu. It was a blessing in the building of the temple, giving our blessing to the building of it. So they were basically what I'm trying to say is Pompeo was delivering a blessing from this administration to build the temple, which I thought was interesting. And another thing is, oh gosh, I have so much stuff running through my mind. So that temple is going to be built. The thing I'm wondering about it is they're saying it's going to be on the Temple Mount. Now that room that we were looking at is built under the temple right now. Interesting, right? Makes you think of Ezekiel 8:16. Remember, Son of Man, I want you to dig through the wall. And he digs through the wall. And he says, Son of Man, dig through the wall again. And he digs through the wall again. And he's in a secret chamber underneath the temple. And he said, I see Jaazaniah with 25 men with their backs towards the altar and their face facing the sun. Baal worship. Very interesting.
It's really interesting too, just to interrupt very quickly, there of course is a model of the third temple right there, which you see also in that video. And let's not forget too, I mean, he wasn't there, but Jared Kushner is a Chabad Lubavitcher. And he is, the man responsible with the peace deal.
Yep,
so
and
there you go.
That's so I got this article just today from The Hill. It says Trump is delaying the rollout of the Middle East peace plan until after the Israeli elections, and those will occur on Tuesday, April 9th. So, I mean, this year is going to not disappoint in terms of prophetic things.
I just think it was really interesting because I want to say something about, there's a different Talmud. Most people, they just hear about, okay, there's a Babylonian Talmud, there's a Palestinian or Jerusalem Talmud, but there is another one, and it's called the Torah Hamelech. It's referred to as the King's Torah. Now, this Torah Hamelech was written by two men in 2016, and every school teaches it in the entire state of Israel. And in it, it includes that you can kill non-Jews and children. Now, a lot of rabbis, a lot of people are upset in Israel about this, but this is being taught to all the children, to everybody in school. It's public doctrine. So when you're looking at the Babylonian Talmud, which comes from the captivity, the three captivities all the way back in Jeremiah, when they went into Babylonian captivity, all those priests began to amalgamate their Judaism with the Babylonian black magic mysticism priesthood. That's where, when Jesus says, call no man your father. Well, a lot of people get confused with that because they say, so what, I'm not allowed to call my dad, like I can't call him father? And the reason why is because the priesthood of the Babylonians were called father. That's where you get the nunnery and the Vestal Virgins of Rome.
Yeah, we see, the Vatican taking on Holy Father, which also relates to the fact that you talked about Jerusalem being so hotly contested. There's this article that I have here. Everyone should know this as well. Vatican focuses on Jerusalem as reports of U.S. embassy move shake peace agreement.
Began this Talmud, Torah, they're Talmudists, okay? They're rabbinical Talmudists. It's different than other rabbis because they adhere only to the Talmud. Yes, they're into Torah. They have to be, they're Torah, they're Jews. But I want to say this because it's really important to say this because we do a lot of apologizing, right? No, this is not against any Jews. We're Jews ourselves. We have to look at the fact that if Jesus is in his letter in Revelation, that he's saying, I know them that say they are Jews, but they're not. They're all liars. They're of the synagogue of Satan. He says that in chapter 2. Okay? So we have to have that freedom. Now, obviously, Jesus isn't talking about the entire Jewish population of the world. He's deliberately saying, I know them that say they are Jews, but they are not. Meaning they're just saying they're Jewish by name, but they're Satanists. Let's just call it like it is.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're Talmudic rabbis, rebbes. And the Talmud comes from the 12th century, during the medieval era. It's complete, total, pagan, black magic, Babylonian mysticism. That's where you get Kabbalah. Okay? So, interesting that this Talmud has overtaken as official state law in Israel in April 14th. 2014 in April. It was...
Jesus was crucified. The Jews would not do it themselves. They relied on Rome to crucify Jesus. Mm-hmm. And when you think about Revelation, it says a harlot is riding the beast. And what I believe, Mystery Babylon, there's multiple views, but Mystery Babylon, specifically the harlot riding on top of the beast, if you think about us as the bride of Christ, a woman represents a church. We're the good church, the bride of Christ. Then there's a prostitute, a harlot, the bad church. The woman riding on top of the beast, a one-world religion type of church. Mm-hmm. And it is riding a beast, and if we look back at Daniel, you'll see that the symbolism of a beast has typically related to kingdoms, Greece, Medo-Persia, things of that nature. So you literally have a church or religion controlling nations and doing their bidding, essentially. That the church is having the nations do the bidding for them. And here you have, again, rabbis teaching that we are not going to necessarily go and destroy and take over the nations and implement the Noahide laws. They're going to have people to do it for them. And specifically, this ties into, Pompeo. This is a great segue to talk about Pompeo. In his Secretary of State of the United States, how he just called the United States Rome, the new Rome. I don't know, Joanie, do you want to take off from there?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. My friend Mina Lee Grebin and I, we were totally talking about this, like getting into it. And we just had such a dynamic talk about it. And so I've been like on a springboard all day. That moment that we saw Pompeo signing a book, it was the eve of Purim. Can you hear me?